So what we are talking about today, so I did for a bit there. What we are going to be talking about today is I'm answering the question, how do I grow my business? That is the question that I'm answering today. Well, I'm asking it and answering it. And you can see I've got my whiteboard ready. I've got my pens ready. Once a teacher, always a teacher. Mind you, when I first started teaching, it was still chalkboards, and we called them blackboards in those days. Then it went to chalkboards, then it went to whiteboards, and of course it's now interactive and singing and dancing, isn't it? But that just shows how old I am. Anywho, so I shall be writing up a few bits and pieces. Hopefully you can see. There we go. And there might be the odd diagram actually that might be relevant too. So I shall put that up as well. So what I've got here, I've been having a think about this for quite a few weeks actually, but in the past week when I decided to come on and do this live. And I've thought of the 5 things that I really think have grown my business. To some of you, if you followed me and watched me and you know how I work and how I tick, most of this isn't going to be new to you because I've said a lot of it before. But hopefully you'll be able to take some of this away and start being able to do some things with it. Just a quick proviso, is that the word? I can't I can't think of the word. My brain's fuzzy this Monday morning. This isn't a quick fix thing. This isn't a how to get 100 customers by Saturday. This is not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about growing your business. Okay, there will be some things in here about getting more customers, but that is part of the big picture. So just to give you a little bit of background for those of you that don't know me, I don't assume that everyone does know me at all. We have new members all the time. So I'm just checking that. So I just have to check that if anyone's made a comment, that's all. I'm Annie Bennett, and I run the Home Baking Business Community Facebook group. In fact, it's getting on for nearly 3 years old now. It started in June 2020. And it was a sort of a lockdown, a reaction to lockdown, when all my wedding cake bookings had disappeared, as a lot of, bakers did. People in the wedding industry were finding it very difficult. So I had to find another way of getting income. But I started the Facebook group, with free advice. And then from there, I've written my books, I've opened my membership, those kind of things. So there's all sorts of growth that's gone on for me in various different directions. But when I first started my baking business, I think it was, it's very hazy because of what happened to me in my life around that time. The actual details of when I started my business are moderately hazy. But it was around 2014 that Leading Lady Cakes was born. And when I first started, I did markets. I went and traded at markets, lots and lots of markets, lots of different ones all over the place. And it could be fair to say I was sort of scraping a living out of it. I had to do teaching as well part-time. So I wasn't even really scratching a living from it. I was scratching income from it. But I've now grown to the point where I make wedding cakes. There are some months when I'm completely booked out with wedding cakes. I run training, I write books, I do all sorts of things, and I don't teach anymore at all. That has gone. I'm retired from the teaching, which when I first started was my ultimate goal. We'll come on to ultimate goals in a second. But that's sort of my journey. So I've gone from starting up, knowing nothing about business at all. I often say this, I had not a Scooby-Doo about running a business. I'd been a teacher. I knew about things like, planning a bit, strategic action planning, that kind of thing. I knew about how to handle people. I knew about how to handle customers because I'd been, dealing with children and parents and other colleagues and things for years and years and years. But when it came to actually running a business and selling things, teachers, if any teachers out there, you'll know what I'm talking about. Teachers are not very good at selling themselves. Particularly these days, teachers are told negatives all the time. And so it's very difficult sometimes for teachers to believe they're actually good at things. Don't get me started on that. I could waffle on for hours about that. But so sales comes quite difficult to some people, and it did to me, to actually say, this is fabulous, buy this, completely out of my comfort zone. So that is sort of where I'm coming from. That is my background. So how have I gone from, market trading, not really having that much income from it, to, getting fully booked with wedding cakes and books and training and everything? 5 things. Okay. Now, the first one, and I'm going to write it down. Let's get a pen. What should we write in today? Let's write green. It's my colour, isn't it? It's my corporate colour. So I hope I can do this without knocking everything over. Ooh, there's not much room in this little office. It may look slightly bigger on the screen, but it really is very tiny. My chair, my swivel chair, only just has enough room to swivel around. And at the moment, I'm completely penned in. If there was a fire, there'd be havoc. Anyway, so number 1, can you see that? Oh, just about. The first thing, the first answer to a question, how do I grow my baking business? I would say, what is it you want to grow your business into? That's a really interesting question that I was asked when I started, changing my business sort of 3-4 years ago. And people say to me, well, what do you want? I want more customers. No. What do you want to achieve in your business? Where do you want to be in 5 or 10 years' time? Oh, okay. You've got, things change for me when I thought, okay, where am I actually wanting to take this business? Where do I want to be in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time? What do I want my business to be able to let me do, if that makes sense? So what is it that you want your business to go to in 5 years' time? Is it that you want to, for example, do you want to run a shop? Do you want to run a tea room? Do you want to have like a teaching studio? Is it that you want your business to be able to provide you with a lovely holiday every year? Or you want your business to get you a nice new car every 2 years? Or whatever it is, what is it you want your business to achieve for you? Once you know that, you can then start working backwards from that and say, well, okay, well, what have I got to do to get to that point? And that is the inspiration that helps you grow your business. When I first started my business, all I thought was, I just want more customers. I want more people to come to the market store and buy my things. It's like, that's so wishy-washy. It doesn't help you focus. It's not strategic. It doesn't get you anywhere. That you've got to have a plan behind what you want. Eventually, I realized that what I actually wanted to do was make wedding cakes. I wanted to make wedding cakes. I wanted to make really good quality wedding cakes. I wanted to, provide wedding cakes for some amazing places, castles and, high profile places. And so I started at that point thinking, well, what do I need to do to be able to do that then? What have I got to put in place for me to be able to grow into doing that? So the first thing you've got to think about is what is it I want to grow into? What is it I want my business to achieve? Okay. And don't fall into the trap of, oh, well, I'll never be able to have a tea room because of this, that, and the other. Don't think about that. Just think about in your ideal, you know, in your dreams, if you like, what would you really, really love to do or to be able to do? You know, is it that you'd love to be able to buy a bigger house or a house in the country, or, you know, or is it that you'd love to be able to go and visit family abroad once a year, or, you know, whatever it is, what is it that you want your business to achieve for you? Once you know that, you can then start building that strategy to make that happen. And that is what will help your business grow. Okay, so that's number one. Oh, Joe's here. Hello, Joe. Oh, hello, Goodie Box Cakes and Bakes. Sorry, I don't know your name, but it's lovely that you're here. So that's what. Know what it is you want your business to grow into. Okay, I told you this is sort of big overview stuff. This isn't, I want another 50 customers by Saturday. That's the small bit. To be able to grow your business, you've got to look at the big picture. Now, number two. Now, anyone who knows me or has followed me or has been around me at all could probably guess what's coming next. I bet you could. If I give you a minute, we won't spend time sort of interacting and stuff because I don't want to keep you for longer than you have to be here. But the next one is who. You've got to know who it is you want to sell your products to. Now, when someone first asked me this question, however many years ago it was, my reaction, as the same as everyone else's reaction, is, well, anyone who wants to buy. Everyone, anyone. Okay. But to start thinking about who specifically you are aiming your product at, that changed my business. I can honestly say, once I started learning about this thing called ideal client. Ooh, blimey, hang on. Ooh. Here we go. Once I started learning about that and understanding what that actually meant, seriously, game changer. I can't stress enough. Quite emphatic about this. And I'm going to give you an analogy. I thought of a quite an interesting analogy that hopefully might make some sense to you. So we're thinking about fishing. I don't know quite why I came up with fishing, but the analogy seems to fit. So think about fishing. You want to go fishing. You've got the lake in front of you, or the river, whatever it is, a bit of water, okay? And your aim for the day is to catch some quality fish, all right? So you've got two options. Okay, this is what would you do? Okay, so your first option, you get a big net and you stand at the edge of the water and you pull your net through the water, lift it out and see what ends up in your net. Okay, you might, you know, catch some things doing that way. The second option, you decide which fish you're actually going to try and catch. Let's say it's trout. So you go onto the internet, right, what bait do I need for trout? I looked it up, actually. Night crawlers, earthworms, and mealworm were the three on the top of the list. So you go to get your bait, your earthworms and your mealworm or whatever. You go to the fishing bait shop, you buy a rod that's built for catching trout, and you go to the side of the lake or the river and you put your bait on, and there you go. The chances are that because you've set up everything in that way, you're going to catch some trout. Now, it might be that you catch other fish, I don't know, carp, bream, I don't know. But they're still quality fish, okay? Because you are aiming your efforts at one particular type of fish. Now, think of that net that you've been waving in and out of the water. The chances are you're not going to get anything quality, anything sizable in that net. You're going to get little minnows and tiddlers and things like that. And if we think about this in terms of baking business, those tiddlers, I love that word, those little tiny fish that you catch in that net, Those, I think, are equivalent to those people that want the cheapest cake possible, and quibble over a couple of quid and then end up going down the road to Mandy because she's £2 cheaper than you. Those are your tiddlers. You don't want to bother with the tiddlers. They're a waste of time. They use up so much of your effort. Think of all that effort you've had dredging that net through the lake. If you spend some time looking for that right bait, finding the right rod, finding the right position on the lake and on the river, you are going to catch, far more likely to catch quality fish. And that is how the ideal client thing works. You've got to set up, you've got to know what your ideal client wants, what kind of messaging they're attracted to, and then you will start reeling them in. Yes, you want to reel them in. Okay, because if you hold the net out, they're not going to jump in. Those trout aren't going to just jump in that net, are they? You have to be strategic. You have to work out how you're going to get them on the end of that fishing rod and that hook. You've got to persuade them onto it by doing things. They're not just going to attach themselves. You've got to do things. So when I first started my business, I would sit there at my market stall and almost twiddle my thumbs, perhaps put a Facebook post up. I'm here today till 5 o'clock. That's the equivalent of just pushing the net through the water. If I was lucky, I might get a few people going past and buying. But what I wasn't doing was aiming at the type of people that I knew would want to buy my goods, my products. So, oh, hello, Rachel. Rachel's here. Hello, Rachel. See, I can see my phone is telling me who's watching, which is lovely because I like to see names. So think of the type of customer. Now, the way that we can do this, by the way, if you're Louise in the membership, we're going to be doing some real good work on this on Wednesday, Ideal Client, in the Home Baking Professionals Society. We're going to be doing some work on Ideal Client. So we're really going to hopefully nail it a little bit more. But to find your ideal client, this doesn't really work with new businesses because you've not got the experience to draw on. But if you've been around for a little bit longer, there will hopefully have been some customers that you thought, oh, they were fantastic. What a fantastic, they didn't quibble about the price. They bought quite a big cake from me, whatever it was. Those are the ones that you think, right, I want more like that. I want more customers like that person that bought that cake at that time. So for me, for my wedding cakes, I have certain couples that I think, oh, they were a dream couple. How am I going to get more couples like that? What were that couple like? What kind of things did they like? And I really think about where I'm going to find more of those types of people. Okay. And that is the sort of the bait that you use, and where you sit on the lake and all that kind of stuff. It all adds up to finding the right people for what you produce. Okay. So that was number 2. So number 2 is who. Number 3 is actually then being visible. So you know who it is you want to sell to, okay? But you've got to be visible to those people. Those people have got to know that you exist. Otherwise, how are they going to buy from you? And it's more than just a case of putting up a Facebook or an Instagram post. Because those of us that have done Facebook and Instagram for a while know that the algorithms are rubbish. You may have 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, how many followers, 200 followers. A very, very small fraction of those followers are going to see any posts that you put up. So you've got to be, you've got to be relentless. You've got to keep going and keep going. But you've got to be visible. You've got to be in the right places. Now, this is something that I've mentioned before. You've got to look. You've got to work out where your customers are going to be. Where are they going to be looking? I read something, I was told it, I can't remember where I saw this, but the owners of Lamborghini, you know, the big posh cars, the big flash cars, they were once asked, why don't you advertise on television? And their answer was simple: our customers don't watch television. And it's, you know, you don't switch on the TV, ITV, and see an advert for Lamborghini, do you? You don't see adverts for an awful lot of things. You don't see adverts for, because the ideal client of those particular brands and those particular businesses don't watch television. There are certain programs that advertisers will go for because they know that their ideal client will watch that type of program. And that's the that's the advertising space that they want. They're very, very strategic. All businesses will know who their ideal client is. They know who their demographic is. They know who they're aiming their messaging at. All their adverts, all their, their TV adverts, their written adverts, their radio adverts, everything is based on what will attract the customer to them. Okay. So Lamborghini, they don't, their customers don't watch television. Now, then we're not going to say that none of their clients ever watch television. That's probably not the case. I dare say that occasionally they will sit down and have an evening or whatever, or watch film on TV or whatever it is. But that is not on the top of the list of the type of, it's not top priority for the clients that they have. There are other things that are top priority. So to find out where you need to be visible, you've got to do some detective work. Okay. You obviously want customers who are going to pay the kind of prices that you need to make a profit. And I've talked about this quite a bit of times before as well, because profit, you're in a business, you've got to make a profit. At the end of the day, that's what it's about. And those people are definitely out there. It's, dare I say, it's the media. Yes, there's the cost of living crisis. Of course there is, and people are struggling, but not everybody is. Because the media have a real thing about the word crisis. They use the word crisis all the time. There's a crisis on, there's a crisis. And if we take that all in, we are led to believe that no one ever got any money for anything. So what's the point? And it's not the case. People still shop at Waitrose. Waitrose has got prices that are far higher than, Lidl and Tesco's and Asda. But people still shop at Waitrose. And we go right high end, right to the, the top end, Porsche, Gucci, Chanel, all those. People are still buying theirs. They haven't shut down because of this crisis that's going on. There are lots of higher end brands that are still thriving. So you've got to believe that there are people out there that will pay for quality, for what you are producing. You've just got to go and find them. Now, it's a question of finding where. So think about that ideal person, that person that loved what you did and was a perfect customer. You want hundreds of customers just like them. Where would they be? Where will they be looking for you? It may be that they are Facebook people. It may be that they are Instagram people. In my case, it's Instagram. Pinterest is growing very much for me. I'll tell you about that in a second. And Google searches. So on Instagram, I follow, with my wedding cake account, I follow wedding venues, wedding planners, wedding florists, wedding photographers. A lot of them are people that I've worked with at weddings. So when I go to a wedding, I find out who the photographer is. I find out who the florists are. And often they're there when I'm there. So I chat to them and make connections as well. Swap business cards, swap Instagram accounts, all that kind of thing. And then when I post on Instagram, I tag them in. Not only does that get you, a couple more followers actually are neither here nor there. What the value is that they are likely to then tag you into things. So their followers will then see what you're doing. And that's how it all works. And what I do, all the venues I've ever supplied at and some others, I follow. I make a point of going and commenting on posts, on their stories. I do all sorts. In fact, I make a strategic point in my day. I have half an hour. I go onto Instagram, and that is my aim for that half an hour. And I've actually got customers from it. I've been contacted. Oh, we saw, you were on, we're having our wedding at this venue, and we saw that you were on, you commented on there. Can we talk about wedding cakes? Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And that is, that's one way of getting yourself known. You've got to get yourself known with the people. So as I say, in my case, it's weddings. I want people who are having their weddings at all these wonderful places that surround me. And, this can happen all over the country. It's not just a Southeast thing. Look at the venues that are around you. Would you love to supply a wedding there? Get onto their Instagram. They will have an Instagram. They'd be foolish not to. Start interacting with them. Start finding out the photographers who go and photograph there. Find out about the florists. Find out about the wedding planners, and start chatting to them and talking to them. That is how you find your ideal client, that way. Pinterest. I've often said this, that when I get contacted by, and it's usually a bride, I always say brides because it usually is the bride. Occasionally it's the groom, but usually it's the bride. And they say, oh, I'd like a cake like this, please. And they send me a picture, and it's more often than not a Pinterest picture. So it's either a Pinterest itself or it's a screenshot of a Pinterest. So wedding, bridal couples, wedding couples will use Pinterest. And when you do a Google search for images of things, it's often Pinterest images that come up. So anyone looking for a birthday cake for their 5-year-old, they might Google birthday cakes for 5-year-olds. They might well find lots of Pinterest images in their search results. And I've just discovered over the last month that Pinterest love little videos, little reel type clips. So much so that my monthly views at the beginning, what are we in now? May. At the beginning of April, my monthly views were at about 7,000. And because I've regularly put on these little video clips, I'm now at 217,000 monthly views, which is mind-blowing. And of course, with all those extra monthly views comes people seeing my name, people seeing my business, people clicking on and going to my website and all those kind of things, because I know that my ideal client goes to Pinterest. So that's where I'm concentrating my efforts. And the other place, which, I mean, a lot of you might find that Pinterest isn't right for you, but a Google search is. Google profile, Google search. First thing you do when you want anything or want to find out anything, what do? You go to Google. If I want to, I've been redoing my garden. I needed to find out how to do something to my patio. Onto Google. There we go. So not to have yourself findable on Google is a major mistake. You've got to find yourself searchable. I find that I get a lot of birthday cake queries because people have looked up cake makers in my area, and I come up on the first page a lot of the time. And so people ask me about birthday cakes. Now, my website doesn't have anything about birthday cakes. My Instagram and my Facebook account don't have anything about birthday cakes, because that's not my main thing. But people find me through a Google search, and they ring me up and they say, can you do me a birthday cake? And I say, when do you want it for? Yes or no, whatever. And that's how I get all my birthday cake. There's sort of, I have, you know, lots of birthday cakes. I will say the word dribbling along, but that's not right, is it? I have them sort of regularly along in the year, and that sort of keeps the cash flow flowing. But it's all because I come up on a Google search. That's the only reason that they find me. So you've got to be visible in the right place. You've got to let your ideal client see you. If all I ever did was post, and this is a bit ridiculous, but you get where I'm going with this. If all I ever did was post on Facebook Marketplace that I made wedding cakes, I wouldn't get any work, would I? The prices that I need to charge to make a profit are going to go nowhere on Facebook Marketplace. People go to Facebook Marketplace because they want something for next to nothing. That's not where I want to advertise. I don't want to charge next to nothing for my goods. Thank you very much. I want to charge what they are worth, and I want to make a good profit because I am a business. Okay. And another thing about being visible, so it's not just about the social media and the Google searches, it's also about the credibility side, so the PR side. Get yourself seen in publications, whether it's local, get yourself known by the local press. And not just because what you're selling, it's to press is PR is to do with stories. What's interesting about you that people would want to feature. So I had a lot of PR last year. I worked with a PR, fabulous PR lady, who's actually quite a good friend of mine now. And she taught me that my story is what's going to be interesting. And then from my story, I could then get my business known. So my story was that I was a teacher for 30 years. It made me ill. I stopped doing it, and I've set up this business. And that's sort of, you know, there's a few more bits in there as well, but that's sort of basically it. And that's Woman magazine up there. I got that through her. So I made a connection with Nicola, my PR lady. And then through that, I've managed to be visible and to be seen. And even if my ideal client isn't seeing, so that magazine was a weekly magazine, even if they didn't see that at that point, I now have that sort of on my, you know, on my socials and on my CV and on my website. I was in Woman magazine, you know, I was in Hello, I've been on the BBC. And it's all stuff that is relevant to my ideal client. Always comes back to ideal client. It really does. If you don't know who it is you're aiming your message at, you're with that big net in the lake, just trying to get anything that's going. You've got to aim. You've got to get the right bait. Okie dokie. Hello, Jill. Hello, Sophie. Hello. So yeah, so it's a question of being visible, visible. Your ideal clients are waiting out there for you. I promise you, they are waiting there for you. You have just got to give them the opportunity to find you. You've got to make sure they find you. Okay. Now, number 4 is something I'm always banging on about. And in fact, this board is covering up the back of my door. If you've seen the back of my door, you'll know that I have 3 favorite words. And I'm going to spend a minute writing them down, so bear with me. Determination, perseverance, if I can spell it right, and resilience. I cannot tell you how much I believe that those 3 words are what are going to make a successful business and what are going to grow your business. Okay. So when we talked earlier about your wildest dream, about what you'd like to achieve in 5-10 years' time, and those little, but I'll never do that because, I can't ever do that because, that'll never happen for me because, this is where these 3 words come in. Because if you are determined, you will find a way round those buts. You will find a way to overcome any barrier that you have. like I did, I left a teaching job, which was fairly highly paid, and I started my own business. So there were certain things that I had to do to get around that. Now, I could have just stayed in teaching and thought, well, I can't not have this, you know, I'm a single person. I pay the mortgage on my own. I haven't got anyone else's income. It's just me. So there were so many barriers that would have stopped me doing that had I not sat down and thought, right, okay, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get around this? How am I going to achieve that? And it's also to do with perseverance. So many things have gone wrong over the last 3 years. I can't tell you. Successful businesses rarely show what's gone wrong and what's failed. But I'm going to get another pen here. Hello, Kirsty. Hopefully you can see this. Is there a bit of a glare, actually? Hang on. Hang on. That's a bit better, isn't it? A bit better. That's a bit better. A bit less glare now. Right. So in terms of growth, we love a graph. We love a graph. Most people think that a business grows like this. So there's your start. Look, there's your axis, maths teacher coming up. That's where you start. And most people think it's like that. Yeah. Actually, you're probably way ahead of me here. How it actually works is like this. So it might be that, and then you go like that, and then you go like that, and then you do that, and then you might do that, and then you might do that, and then you might do that. It might even be, I don't know if you can see this, I'll draw another one. It might even be you start here and you do that, and then you do that. So this is more likely to be your business growth than that. That's not very likely. And these bits here, where you're dipping, that's when you're changing things. It might be that you put your prices up. Nearly always dip when you put your prices up. Ask any, ask most businesses. This is when you're learning something. These are the valuable bits because that's when you're learning things. And because you're learning things and you're then saying, okay, what have I got to do differently next time? That's when you start then moving upwards. So don't be afraid of these bits here. These bits here. Because those are the bits that inspire you and get you ready to do that bit there. We love graph. So that is being resilient. It's persevering when you get into that dip. Thinking, I'm not going to give up. I'm just going to keep going because my 5-year, 10-year goal is something I really, really want. I'm determined to achieve that. I was determined to be a wedding cake baker. Okay. I also had a vision 3 years ago when I started the training side and my books and all those kind of things. I thought, wouldn't it be great to be able to put on a day for baking business owners to meet up and talk about their baking businesses? Because there aren't opportunities for that. I mean, you've got your Cake International, but that's to do with actually creating the cakes and making the cakes. It's not to do with business. There's very little business input, content in there. So I thought, well, wouldn't it be great for everyone that has a baking business to be able to actually get together? So I started off with the Facebook group because that's a way of getting together virtually, online, in a community. But in November, I'm actually having the day in London where bakers are coming along and we're going to be talking about business and sharing business ideas. You might have seen me talking about it. Rise Together, I've called it, which I thought was quite good. A bit of baking, rising in there. And it's happening in November. And I've actually sold almost half tickets already, which is amazing. And if you'd asked me that 3 years ago, would I sell, a day in London to bakers? I'd have thought, oh gosh, no. There's all sorts of things stopping me doing that. But I've got over them. And I'm determined that that's what I'm doing and that's where I'm going. If you're interested in Rise Together, by the way, if you want to come and join us, there are various bits of information in the home baking business community. I think I've put it in the featured section. If I haven't, I'll do it when I finish this. If you're on my email list, you'll be emailed things about it. So there's all sorts of information going on about that. And my training days as well. I've got Start Your Own Baking Business, a whole day for people to learn about, actually to set up. And I've got Grow Your Baking Business, which is a day to do with how do you take your baking business and then go up the curve. Yeah, asked me 3 years ago if I'd have done something like that. Not in a million years. But I had a vision, I had a thought of, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to achieve, and I've worked out how it is I'm going to do it. And the resilience part is the knowing that when things go wrong and when you're down and when you think everything's going, what you then need to do is take a step back and think, okay, what can I learn from this? My daughter actually gets quite cross when she, you're not going to teach me things now, are you? But it is very true. If you can, I soak up as much information I can from anything that goes wrong with what I do. I wring it dry of, learning and knowledge and information. And once I've done that, I put it on the shelf and forget about it, because I've taken what I need from it, and that's going to be useful to me. When you have a cake that goes wrong, or a nasty customer, or whatever it is, take all the learning that you can from it and then forget about it. There's no point in sitting and crying and all that kind of stuff. Well, there is 5 minutes worth of doing that because it gets your emotions out. But after that, just get your learning from it, because that's what's going to send you up that curve. That's what's going to push you upwards. Okay. So that was number 4. 3 words in number 4: determination, perseverance, and resilience. And then number 5, which is what a lot of you are doing, sitting here. Connect. I can honestly say that in the past 3 years, it is because I have connected with other business owners that I've been able to grow my business to where it is now. Because I have learnt so much from successful and starting up businesses that I've been able to rise together. I know how to, I've learned how to sort of set it up, to organize it, to, get it out there, to tell people about it, all that kind of stuff. So it's connecting with people, and not just other bakers. The only people I'd ever connected with was bakers, I probably wouldn't have written my books. I probably wouldn't have got my membership going. I probably wouldn't have done the training days. But it's because I've connected with people that have got nothing to do with baking whatsoever. So I know people that are good at, strategy, business coaching, that kind of thing. People that are good at sales. People, I mentioned Nicola, my PR person. So PR, visibility people who are experts at websites, people who are expert at SEO, people who know about ideal clients. I was banging on about that. And it's because I have connected with those people, and not just know who they are, actually connected with them, talk to them, be in amongst, sessions that they've led. Some of them got free Facebook groups, which I'm part of. Some of them have got memberships, and I'm in some of those. They set up, when they have live sessions, I try, if I can, to go along and actually engage so that they know who I am. People start knowing who you are and what you do, it leads to so many more opportunities. Because of the people that I know now, led to me in February going up to Birmingham and creating and being the cake sponsor to a big event up in Birmingham. Now I don't really serve Birmingham in terms of wedding cakes, but that exposure, there were loads of people at that event who now know who Leading Lady Cakes is, and they know me, they know my face. And that in itself will lead to other opportunities. You know, in the groups that I'm in, people ask, occasionally people will ask about, you know, baking or food hygiene or whatever it is. And people say, oh, Annie will know about that. Because I've made myself known as the expert in this area. And I know a lot about it. As hopefully some of you will realize, you know, there's very little I don't know about labeling and allergens and things like that. I know that guidance backwards. You know, I know about bookkeeping. I trained myself to be, I qualified to be a bookkeeper. So I know about how to set up accounts, self-assessment, all that kind of stuff. And I did that originally just for my business, just so that I knew what I was doing with my business. But that grew a little bit and I ended up getting qualified and running a practice for a while. But I found I didn't really enjoy it, so that's why I stopped it. But I still have that knowledge. I still have that, that foundation of what I'm doing. Oh, Kerry's here. Hello, Kerry. Hello, Adele. Hello, Elspeth. Celine. Hello, lots of people. So, you know, you have to push yourself out there, even if you are, I mean, because I'm moderately extroverted. I'll go and stand in front of people and talk. Bothers me not in the slightest. But even if you're a quieter sort, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. You can still be engaging with people. I mean, the group that I would highly recommend, and I'm not affiliated to this group at all, but you might have heard me talking about Lisa Johnson before. And she has a free Facebook group called That Strategy Group. I'll put the link up in the group if you like. But in there are lots and lots of business people. And it was from joining that free group. It was called something different when I joined it, but it's now called That Strategy Group. And it was from joining that I started coming across, you know, my PR people and sales people and website people and, you know, all sorts. And I started learning, even just following a group and seeing the questions that other people ask and the answers that other people give to those questions can be gold sometimes. You think, oh my God, I didn't realize that. Oh, that's a good answer. Brilliant. And you go away and do something with it. Even better if you go on and say, that's really good. Thank you so much for that. Because then your name starts getting known and that starts making connections. So that's how you grow. You grow by connecting. You grow by being known, by being visible, by people knowing who you are, by people saying, oh yeah, Annie, she does wedding cakes. Go and ask Annie. I recently in November joined the local dramatics group because I'd been singing. Some of you know I'm a soprano. That's where Leading Lady Cakes come from. And I'd been singing with an opera group in Tunbridge Wells near me since I think it was 2007 I joined them. But unfortunately, lockdown put pay to that group. It was very expensive to run it. And the people that ran it and funded it decided that they didn't want to do it anymore. Fair enough. All good things have to come to an end. So I thought, well, I'm not doing that anymore, but I need to be on stage. I'm quite a theatrical kind of person. So I contacted the local drama group and I'm now sort of fully involved. They're doing a Shakespeare in August that I'm in. They did a play in March that I'm in. They do musicals as well, which I love as well. So possibly the next musical that they do, I'll be in that as well. But the last musical that they did a couple of weeks ago, I put an advert in their program because my ideal client is someone who loves theatre. So, you know, I put an ad and people were saying, oh, Annie, I didn't know you did wedding cakes. Brilliant. So now I am known in that group, and there are hundreds of people in this group. I am known as the person who does cakes. And I've had a couple of people from that group phone me up and say, oh, I'd be interested in, you know, you making a cake for me. So it's making connections. It's telling people what you do. I've heard all sorts of stories. This hasn't happened to me, but I've heard all sorts of stories from a lot of my business friends who've said things like they've been standing in the queue, a bus queue, and they've struck up a conversation with the person in front of them, and they've ended up giving them their business card because that person knew someone that was looking for someone, you know, and all sorts of random things like that. You know, you talk to people about what you do, they go, oh, that would be useful. I know someone who needs a cake, you know. And then, you know, you get yourself known, you get visible, you get connected and get visible, and people will start, you will get the reputation as the whatever it is you do, whether you're brownies, whether you're treat boxes, whether you're cakes, whether you're, you know, whatever side of baking is yours. Get known for that. Be the whatever it is person in your area, and people will come to you. And that's how you do it. That's how you grow, by connecting. So, oh, Leela's here. Hello, Leela. So these are my 5. Oh gosh, it's 11 o'clock already. I didn't realize it's been going on for so long. I'd only planned to do this for half an hour, but you know me, once I get going. 5 ways to grow your business. How do I grow my business? 5 ways. Know what it is you want. What do you want to grow your business into? You've got to know where you're going. Who is it you want to serve? Who is it that you are going to sell your products to? Decide who it is you're aiming at. Think about that bait. Think about the fishing. Think about the big net. You don't want the big net. You want the fishing rod with the bait on it that's really going to get, you know, to the heart of who it is. You've got to be visible. People have got to know who you are. A post on Facebook a day isn't going to cut it. It really isn't. You know, in the Facebook group, sometimes say, well, I put a post up on Facebook and I haven't had any orders. No, I'm afraid you're not. Sorry, tough love going on here. You're not going to get it that way. You've got to do a lot more work than that. You've got to be much more out there, fingers in lots of pies, sometimes literally. You've got to have these 3 words: determination, perseverance, resilience. If something doesn't work, then you've got to find a different way to work. I think I replied to someone a couple of weeks ago who they were obviously having a bit of a down moment, which, you know, we all do, and say, oh, you know, I'm not got any customers. And my reply was, it's because it hasn't worked yet. What you've done hasn't worked yet. What you've got to do is not work harder or do more of the same. You've got to work out a different strategy, because if what you're doing isn't working, you've got to change it. You've got to do something different. Okay, there's no point in plugging on and doing the same thing and doing more of the same thing if it's not bringing you in any customers. Okay, who was it that said the sign of madness is doing the same thing and expecting different results? So you've got to adapt. And this is one thing I've learned by connecting with different people. You know, if your strategy doesn't work, you've got to take what you can from it, change it around and try something new. And if that doesn't work, change it, try something new. And now I'm at the point where I've learned so much that things I'm doing now are working. And I am getting bookings, I'm getting cake bookings, I'm getting, you know, selling half my tickets for my Rise Together day. So you've got to be resilient, you've got to persevere, you've got to be determined. And think about that graph. Think about, you know, when you hit a dip, what have I got to do to get going back up again? That's the thing. So those are my 5 things. I hope that has been useful. Hello, Caroline. Hello, Shantala. If you do have any questions, do ask. I haven't seen any on here. If you're watching this on replay and you have any questions, just pop them in the comments. You might want to tag me in though, because sometimes it doesn't let me know that you're commenting on it. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have on any of this. But as I said at the beginning, it's the big, you've got to think big, you've got to think overview. if you think I've got to get 50 customers by Saturday, and you're knee jerking, and you're, oh, so-and-so down the road has started doing cookie donuts or whatever it is, I don't know, I've got to do them too. You're coming out of, you're just knee jerking and just reacting to everything that's going on around you. You've got to have your own plan. You've got to have where you are going, and you've got to, on the whole, you've got to keep going down that path until you get to where you're going. Okay, it's not to say you might not diverge off it occasionally, or decide at some point, actually, I don't want that. What I want is that, and that is where I'm now going. But if you start, reacting to, oh, I've got to do this because so-and-so down the road is doing it, or everyone is doing this, so I've got to do that, then you're just going to be, chasing your tail the whole time, and that's not going to take you up that curve, up that graph. So there we are. So think big, everybody. Think, if you don't know already, spend some time thinking about what it is you want from your business. Once you've done that, everything else will come from it. I promise you. And think big. Don't limit yourself. Think big. Because even if you think big and you only get there, it's better than only thinking there and only getting there. No. Think big. And if I can be of any help to you, then do ask. If you want more detailed help, there's my membership, the Home Baking Professionals Society, where there is lots of training. I say on Wednesday in there, I'm going to be doing a lot on Ideal Client. We're going to do some really detailed work on that. If you want to join me at Rise Together, oh, excuse me, I don't know what it is, I've only had tea this morning. If you want to join me at Rise Together, it's on Sunday the 19th of November. I've done it on a Sunday because Sundays seem to be cheaper at the venues that I've been looking at, although I haven't confirmed the venue yet, but they seem to be. And I wanted to keep the cost down as much as possible. As I go on over the years, the chances are that it's going to turn into a weekday, because it's going to be a business thing for business people. But at the moment, it's a Sunday. This year, it's a Sunday. And we're going to be doing all sorts of sharing of experiences. We're going to, talk about our businesses. We're going to talk about problems that we have in our business, those kind of things. And then the afternoon, we're going to be planning next year, so 2024. So we're going to talk about your big picture, where it is you want to go, how you're going to get there, talk about a bit of strategy, that kind of thing. I will put the links to all those bits and pieces in the group, in the Home Baking Business Community UK, so you can have a look and see what all those are all about. And if you've got any questions on it, then please do ask. I'm more than happy to chat. As you can see, I can waffle on for I could be on the Olympic team for talking about what I do in my business. Oh, good. I'm so glad, Louise. It's so lovely to have you here. But yeah, you've got to be, you've got to enjoy the learning. You've got to enjoy the, taking things on board and thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that. Yes, let's do that. That motivation. Louise, you are very motivated. I love that. So yes. Oh, never mind, Kirsty. Yes, what I'll do is I'll put all this in the guides section so people can find it easily. Okay. And yes, absolutely. Have a look back and watch the first bit. So if you've got any questions, just ask. All right. There we go. You're very welcome. You are very welcome. There we are. I'll let you go now. Enjoy the rest of your bank holiday Monday. I don't know what you're up to. In fact, I've got to learn some words. I've got rehearsal on Wednesday evening for the Shakespeare that I'm in, and I've got to learn loads of words, which I actually quite like because I'm a bit strange like that. But there we go. So have a lovely Monday. Have a lovely week. I shall be back live in the Home Baking Business Community probably next month. I'm trying to do at least once a month if I can. But I'm always in there. If you need me for anything, just tag me in. If I'm not actually tagged, I often don't see it. And sometimes I'm tagged and I see it when I can't reply to it. You know what it's like. But if you don't get a reply, just remind me, nag me. I don't get at all offended. Just remind me, if if you'd like me to answer you and I haven't, then just remind me. Not a problem at all. Yes, so have a lovely day, and I will see you in the group, and I will see you soon. So have a lovely day. Bye-bye.